You asked, and we're coming to Toronto, so we'll see you guys there. Here we are in Toronto. Man, it has been interesting the last couple of years because we have had so many people from the GTA that are actually coming to Calgary. And so we wanted to come here, we wanted to ask questions, and we wanted to explore two things. First one is, why is the GTA becoming or potentially so unaffordable for so many people? And secondly, what can you do about it? So stick around till the end because we're gonna have some interesting insights at that point. Why did we shoot this video? Well, to be honest, I'm born and raised in Calgary, and for most of my life, this is where I live. This is where I work. This is what we did. We raised our family here. We've gone to Vancouver lots. We understand what happens in Vancouver, but in Toronto, it's a different story. We don't always go out there. For the last number of years, I've done some business coaching out there, have experienced downtown Toronto, but I've met Toronto, that's how you say it. I've experienced downtown Toronto, but I haven't experienced suburbia life, the GTA, like seeing what it's like driving around, because I've Ubered everywhere. And so for me, and hearing all of these stories of people who are constantly calling us and interested in Calgary and moving here, I had to find out for myself what this was all about. And that's what we did. But the reality is we had to start figuring out what is the problem. And that was the question that we wanted to uncover in doing this trip. We had to understand, why was the GTA becoming so unaffordable for those that are living there? And what can you do about it? So Roy LePage in February of 2021 and August of 2022 put out some reports that were talking about what is happening in the GTA and affordability, and just across Canada, what people are experiencing. But nearly half of Canadians aged 25 to 40 own their home. And 1/4 of these homeowners have actually purchased a property since the onset of 2020. Now, 68% of non-homeowners aged 25 to 35 plan on buying a house within the next 5 years. In August 2022, Roy LePage came out with a second report that said 6 out of 10 non-homeowner Canadians of these millennials would have to love owning a home in the future, but they'd have to relocate. And that's a problem. Like, that's not a good thing. Having to leave the city that you're in, leave where you're currently residing and owning, and not even owning, but wanting to own there, but you can't live in that city because it's too unaffordable. That is a hard thing to have. That's a hard problem to have. And I actually think the problem has only gotten worse over the last couple of years. The thing with employment and migration trends, they have completely intersected with real estate market trends. And the reality is we have not seen that in the history of, since me doing real estate, and probably for decades. So all of these things combining with staying at home and working, plus living where you're living and wanting more space, and maybe millennials coming of age and wanting to have families and starting to get roots and grow things and grow a garden, for goodness sake. Whatever it is, there's urges that half of these millennials have and other half may not be wanting to have these kids or these urges. But those that do, they need to do it someplace where they can have a hope, have future. They want to be able to live somewhere that's exciting, that's growing. And where they're currently living, it may be exciting and fun, but the reality is it can be very unaffordable. And that is the problem. So that is why we needed to dive in. We needed to spend a couple days interviewing agents, talking to local people who are renters, who are owners, who are frustrated. And that's what this story is all about. Now, I first want to introduce a guy named Daniel Foch. Daniel, it feels like, has a fantastic pulse on the market, really data-driven, and we want to introduce him first and hear what he has to say. Over the last 5-10 years, what has it been like kind of advising people in a market that seems like it's always going up?
I mean, for me, it's funny, like, I don't even know if I agree that it does, because like in 2017 we had a huge blow off in the GTA, right? Like prices dropped like 30% from Q1 to Q4 in 2017. So the people who are saying the market only goes up in the GTA either weren't around in 2017 or just fucking lying, really, right? Like And so, because like we have, and even in Vancouver would be a similar example. 2016, they had their non-resident speculation tax. We had ours in 2017, but 2016 Vancouver ate shit as well. Not as bad as the GTA, but so I think for me, it's like, let's ignore that, or not ignore it, but let's be cognizant that downside risk exists. The higher the prices go, the more risk there is below you, right? So the closer you are to the top of the cycle. And so it's not that you don't buy, because I can't advise people how to time the market, but it's, let's buy acknowledging that risk is there, and let's buy smart. And that means being careful. That means me spending a lot more time. It means doing a lot more work as an agent. The reason that most people rely on the market thesis that the market always goes up is because it means that they don't have to do the work, because the market's doing the work for them. It's creating that fear, the FOMO, and
the emotional side.
For sure. And if you're peddling, and our market was built around that. It was like literally everything was underpriced. Everything was selling over asking. You literally could see a property for 30 minutes max, and then throw a Hail Mary offer at it. No home inspection, no financing.
Been like that?
It's been like that since 2017.
So as you can see in this chart that's on the screen, Vancouver did hit a peak in 2016, and then Toronto hit a peak right after in 2017. So you see where Calgary is on here? Think about that and the gap that is between these two cities already at that time in 2016 and 2017. In 2016, there were articles like this one that were going out talking about the unaffordability in Vancouver. So maybe we need to actually go backwards a little bit further and understand a little bit about Vancouver before we can understand Toronto. So take a look at this map here. This is the map of Vancouver. And this is what you see, right? It's got mountains, it has the oceans, it's got all of these things around it, and it's really landlocked. Now look at this map of Toronto. You can see the same thing. You've got the green belt, you've got basically it's called the golden horseshoe of all of these cities in the GTA. But what's really, really fascinating is when you overlay Toronto, the downtown Toronto itself, not GTA, over top of Vancouver, and what's happening there, it's insane of how big this Toronto is compared to Vancouver. When you overlay the 416 of Toronto in that area over Vancouver, you can fit Vancouver, Burnaby, New Westminster, I mean, like Richmond, Port Moody, like you could fit all of that into that 416 area. That is just downtown Toronto. That's not including the GTA and all the areas on the west, east, and everything else. So when you look at Toronto on the map, you can see through the GTA that there is a green belt that is a protected area where you cannot develop. And I didn't understand this, and I didn't know this until I saw it myself. You can feel, it's like driving through population, and it's driving through high rises, and all of a sudden you hit farmland. And it's just this open green belt with trees, and it's beautiful, but it's literally this road. And on one side, you've got population, you've got cement, you've got concrete. Other side, it's like wildlife. And it's really, really interesting, the dichotomy between these two different feelings of these different places, because why can't you just build there? But the problem is you can't. You have to have wildlife, you have to have nature, and this is a part of that. And on the other side of GTA is the water, is the lake, right? And so they're also landlocked. But I mean, you've got 6.3 million people that are living in the GTA. And so if you have that number of population and it's growing, the only way you can grow is up. And that's like Vancouver, that's like Kelowna, that's like Canmore. All of these places can only grow up. So if you're landlocked, what happens to the value of your land? It goes up. And if you have more land, which you can create land like Calgary, you can actually grow out. And this is the difference. And actually, I don't believe Calgary is going to see prices skyrocket like other places, because we have room to still grow out. Unlike Vancouver, the GTA, Kelowna, Canmore, other places in Canada that have seen major growth in the last number of years. So look here again on this chart at how quickly prices jumped as we headed into 2020, 2021. The end of 2017, the benchmark price for GTA was $756,600. And as of October 2022, it was at $1,098,000. That is a $341,000 increase over that time frame. That is mind-blowing. I can't even imagine seeing that type of growth from 2017 to 2022.
The function of pricing a home isn't done by a realtor in the GTA anymore. It's done by the market, I think, right? It's like price it within 100K and price it below, and then let the market do the rest.
Tell what it's gonna actually go for.
So, yeah. It's a shame, but that's what happened.
Because, well, how long has Toronto real estate kind of been increasing?
Oh man, it's since I've been in this market for about, I think, 6 years now. And but before that, it was modest gains, reasonable historical, let's say, year-over-year gains. And then I think at about, it must have been 2015, 2016, things started to ramp up a little bit. And I guess the real estate craze really started to take off here. So the better part of 5 to 7 years, it's been on a pretty steep incline.
And with prices growing that quickly, man, there has to be urgency, there has to be FOMO, there has to be all of, for those who don't know, that's fear of missing out, FOMO, fear of missing out. But you have all of these things that are there that are just like the urgency that you'd have to feel because you saw it grow so quickly, and to be able to just sit back and wait, you're gonna feel like you're priced out of the market.
So it's been interesting for buyers. It's been a little challenging, especially with things like the stress test being increased and having to qualify for that, not being able to do home inspections and having finance conditions in offers has been pretty interesting.
It's interesting. I mean, everyone has a different perspective coming into what they think purchasing real estate is going to be like.
Yeah.
I think that there was a little bit of a detachment from fundamentals, so it became difficult to, or at least you had to be a bit of a situation manager for people's expectations. When somebody puts a bid in on a house and they lose, there's going to be a little bit of an emotional reaction to that. So it was more about keeping people grounded, keeping people, from not going too crazy, so that they wouldn't be behind the 8 ball if, there was any kind of correction, which we've, sort of seen twice now. I mean, the COVID one was very short-lived, but you want to make sure that your clients aren't absorbing too much risk when it comes to those non-sustainable gains. Just strictly with price point. I mean, it's so discouraging as a first-time home buyer. I mean, what am I, 32 now? A lot of my friends who don't own real estate are looking at it just as this mountain that's impossible to climb.
Oh, like, how are people affording it? Because it's like when it comes to, again, I can get behind an 800, 900 number, household income of 150, something like that. Like, that's all doable. But when it gets into that 1.3, 1.5, 1.8 plus, like, that's a whole different world. So how are they affording these things?
I mean, the bank of mom and dad is fairly popular, right?
The bank of mom and dad. Let me tell you, this is a term that I don't think over the last 18, since we've been doing real estate since 2004, 2005. So the last 18, 19 years, the bank of mom and dad has never been a bank that I was able to take my clients here in Calgary to get approved in. Like, it is something that I have heard more of in 2.5 days while being in the GTA than I have over my whole career in real estate here in Calgary. So what does this mean? How does it work? And what in the world is this bank of mom and dad? So here we are in Millcroft, which is actually a part of Burlington, and it's about an hour outside of Toronto. So for those that are driving into Toronto, an hour if you're lucky during rush hour. And the reality is houses here, kind of built probably in the mid-90s or so. And these properties, for example, the one when I turn the corner, you're gonna see it behind me, it sold in 2009 for just over $700,000. So $725,000 in 2009. This property right here is actually on the market right now for $2.4 million. So in 12, 13 years, that is a massive increase in amount of equity that is sitting there. So when you're talking about the bank of mom and dad, this is it. I think it's the right time to introduce you to Jeff and Catherine, who have owned some homes in the GTA over the years and recently have become the bank of mom and dad.
Well, we lived in Toronto when we first got married, and then we transferred to Montreal back in 1994, and we were there for 12 years.
Yes, yeah.
And we moved back to the GTA in
2005.
2005, right.
2005, yeah.
we moved into the Burlington area at that point.
Okay.
And we came from a market where the prices in Montreal were still quite reasonable. You know, I mean, we had a 3,500 square foot house there.
4,000.
4,000 square foot house. That was, I think we paid $340 for it. So,
Yeah.
But when we sold it, you know, I mean,
Still made. We sold it for like 100,000 more
yeah,
Yeah.
after being there for
for 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're still making a profit on it. But now then we came to the GTA area, and like I said, we moved into the Burlington area, and we bought a house that was how big was that place?
Just under 3,000.
It's under 3,000, and we paid I think $640 for it. So big jump.
Yeah.
from what we were used to
In 2005, yeah.
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 But I mean, that's just kind of how the prices were
Yeah.
in Toronto in that time. And
So a 640 house in the 2005-6 time frame. What was that kind of higher end, upper end?
that was it was
It was-
closer to the upper end.
Okay.
for
Yeah.
sure.
So you were still seeing $1 million houses plus,
Yeah.
but it was most people are buying in that 4 to
Most
7.
people are buying in the 4 to 7 range, I would think. Yeah.
Yeah, you could still buy something for 350, 380 or something.
At that
Yeah.
time, yeah.
And so then from there, is that where you guys lived until here?
Yeah, we lived there until 2019, I guess, right?
Well, we bought this, and we moved here
Oh,
in 2020.
2020.
2020, yeah.
Just when the pandemic kicked off.
Yeah.
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 So we sold the place in early 2020 for $1.5 million, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
And that was just when pandemic kicked in.
Okay.
So I mean, nobody knew which way the market was going to go,
Yeah.
and nobody was coming by. No people were allowed in to come into houses and real estate agents or anything like that.
Weird.
It was a very
Yeah.
strange time.
Strange.
So I mean, based on that kind of a profit level,
Yeah.
$1.5 million from $650, let's say, you know, that's a decent increase.
Oh yeah.
If we waited another 6 months,
Yeah.
we probably would have got another $500,000 easily.
So here we are in Aspen Woods. Aspen Woods is west of downtown. It's a really beautiful area, very similar to Millcroft. And in terms of like estate type homes, high income individuals and families live here. And so there's a property on this street that we're on, doesn't matter the address, but in 2010, this home sold for $782,000. Now this exact same home, about 3,000 square foot, property, 4 bedrooms, so very similar to the one that we just looked at in Millcroft. This home here sold in 2022 for $1,015,000. So you can see the difference, the pricing difference between GTA and Calgary and what's been going on.
9 out of 10, they're leveraging their properties, pulling equity out of their primary residence, because a lot of times mom and dad have wound down and they're either not working or they're not working as much. So yeah, they tend to pull equity out of their existing property. Now, if mom and dad have multiple properties and they've been savvy over the years, then utilizing some of the investment properties that they may own, you know, is quite handy.
Now this is a very normal thing. This bank of mom and dad in the GTA and in Vancouver and Greater Vancouver, in the Fraser Valley and all those kind of things, and those areas, that is a normal thing. It's not normal here. Over all of our years, I can actually only think of one client, probably back in like 2006, that actually had a parent who helped them purchase the whole property, and then he paid his dad back. And it's really rare, but for first-time buyers, the average gift size was $82,000 last year. While people who are moving up to a new property from a townhouse or a condo in the GTA had an average of $128,000. That was the average. You've got a lot more and you got a lot less, but the average of those people was $128,000 in the GTA. Now, this is all for September 2021, but in Vancouver, the average gifted value for those that were making the move up from one property to the next was a staggering $340,000 as a gifted down payment from the bank of mom and dad. Now, another way that many home buyers are able to afford properties if they don't have the bank of mom and dad is house hacking. This is also a term that hasn't come up that much in Calgary, but you see it online, you see it in major cities. And what is that all about?
That I think provincial policy, actually, the new housing policy is going to be meaningful. I think that it's going to take a recession for it to be meaningful, but I think that you'll start seeing a lot of people bootstrapping their homes into house hacking or whatever to get by for the next couple of years, like 2-3 years.
Or more.
Yeah. But I mean, I think we'll start seeing an introduction of supply over the next couple of years.
I've also come across clients who will partner with, a family member or a good friend and leverage themselves that way. And then another thing that I've over the last little while have started to promote to clients is house hacking or real estate hacking, where maybe you're looking at a townhouse or a semi, but have you considered the idea of potentially buying a duplex or a triplex, living in one of the units, renting out the others to help subsidize that cost, right?
Yeah. So are you starting to see the problem that we saw when we went to the GTA? I mean, the affordability, or should I say the lack of affordability in the GTA and Vancouver is unlike anything we have ever seen, even before my time as an agent in Calgary.
We bought our house in Burlington for 1.1 about 5 years ago. It's worth closer to 3 now.
Hold up. Can you say that again?
We bought our house in Burlington for 1.1 about 5 years ago. It's worth closer to 3 now.
Look at these numbers that Gino just said. His home increase over 5 years was a staggering 272%, going from 1.1 to $3 million. Now, even if he ended up only going to $2.5 million, and that's what the value is, because it probably has come down, that actually is 227% increase. Can't even imagine it. Here's the thing. In 2017, the benchmark price in Calgary was $450,000. If we were to basically take those same kind of numbers, today, the benchmark in Calgary, the price for the typical house in the typical neighborhoods that are typical detached property would go to $1.2 million. I can't even understand that. I can't even imagine that. And I know Calgarians cannot imagine that either. And there's some real fear of people moving here and seeing increases like that. But again, we can grow out. We don't have to grow up. However, many Calgarians might need to grow up still, and maybe Toronto's too, but we should grow up. But we can grow out. And I think that is the thing that we have going for us that is potentially going to keep our affordability where it needs to be.
For anything, they won't be able to.
I can't even imagine those numbers.
Right? Something somewhere has to give, or and if it's not going to give, they're going to go. Right? They're going to go.
Yeah.
They gotta go to where they can again plant roots and live the life that they want to without having to feel like they can't afford anything and they're being taxed through the nose. It's like,
and he's right. Something has to give. Something has to give. And people, if they can't afford something, they're going to leave. And that's where I think we're at. I feel like that is where we are at. People are leaving these areas, hunting for affordability, and they are driving until they find something affordable. These are people who are qualified. They have solid income. They have great values. They have incredible families, and they want to contribute to a community. But they can't do it in a place where affordability doesn't exist. And so this is the individuals, these are the families, these are the people that are moving to Calgary to find affordability. Those of you that are watching from Alberta, we have heard the stories from people, the news articles, we've seen the government talk about it, and it's been pretty smart. I'm going to tell you this because the government did do a good job in spending money in Toronto, in Vancouver, in saying, hey, Alberta is calling. That was the ads, right? Some of these ads. What did the Albertan say to the Torontonian? Well, you're hired. I mean, that's like a really bad dad joke, but it worked. an engineer, accountant, a plumber walk into the province. This sounds like a horrible joke on that too. They all get jobs. I mean, you'll remember them. Let's give them that. A bigger house closer to work. Find things you'd never expect, like an affordable house. I mean, these are trigger words. These are things that are frustrating people in the GTA and Vancouver. And it's true. Alberta is calling. There are jobs here. There are things, and people are answering, and they're making that change. However, we aren't the only ones doing it.
Somewhere. It's smart. It's like beer marketing. Like
Yeah.
beer companies market to young people. And they do that because once you pick up a beer, you're never going to drink another beer again, right? Like once you pick once you choose your beer.
Bud Light at
exactly.
17,
and you're
18
like,
years old, whatever it may be.
You should actually change from that.
Yeah, but exactly. But it's like,
I'm a Peroni man myself. There we go.
But yeah, the guys who are, they get their case of beer and it's like they're a Bush guy now, right?
Totally.
And then for the rest of their life. And, but if you can get a young person during that brand loyalty building phase to set their roots up, a city is even more of a brand loyalty thing because like they literally have to uproot their life and then put their roots down somewhere.
Yeah.
If they do that, then you have they're part of your economy for their entire lifetime. And so it is smart that a lot of these places are doing that.
Yeah.
I totally understand it. The problem is Toronto isn't doing that, or they're doing it with groups of people who are transitory by nature. World-class cities end up being transitory. Nobody moves to New York with the intention of living there for the rest of their life.
It's a phase.
It is, yeah. It's like, go there when I'm in my 30s. I'm young, upwardly mobile, close to jobs, close to potential mates, right? In the center of the global economy.
Yeah.
If Toronto wants to become a world-class city, there are a lot of consequences that come with that, and we're starting to learn what they are.
Yeah.
And that just means that there's a big shift that's associated with it. And you get a lot of people complaining about affordability. You get a lot of people moving out, and it ends up being a good thing, a positive thing for places outside of Toronto where capital starts to move. Alberta, Halifax, Moncton. But it's just like, and I think that's kind of where we're entering this renaissance period where COVID taught people in the GTA that places outside of the GTA existed in Canada.
Yeah. And this is exactly what we are feeling here locally in Calgary. We have talked to many people from Vancouver, from Toronto, who are looking at a better lifestyle. They're searching for this. And if even, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, someone from Vancouver or someone from Toronto was to say, you know what, Joe, my friend, I am considering moving to Calgary, they would get scoffed at, they would get mocked, they would get laughed at. But not now, because everyone is having the same problems. Everyone's feeling the same things, and it's all about this affordability and lifestyle, and they're looking for something different. Over the coming 5 years, 6 out of 10 non-homeowner millennials are planning on buying, and they're gonna have to relocate to do that. That is what they said. So what is gonna happen?
With the pandemic, it really allowed a lot of people to venture further out than say a half hour to 45-minute drive outside of the downtown core. I myself helped 3 clients over the pandemic move about 3 hours away. So they were up in Muskoka, Huntsville, way up north. And it worked. Other than the fact that the connectivity was a little sparse or questionable, but with Elon launching, problem solved, and that's starting to roll out. But that's, I personally can see myself moving that far away because, again, people are decent, salt of the earth. You can connect more so with your outdoor space than worrying about where to park and somebody telling you off because you're looking at them funny. Where will millennials end up? I have no idea, but you are right. I think that the price, the variance between the Toronto market and even Burlington it's that gap is getting closer and closer.
We're seeing it happen, right? Like people are driving till they qualify, and it's a lot easier to economize in other Canadian cities than it is in the Greater Toronto area. And a lot of that's a function of wage, but a lot of it's also a function of, I mean, like Toronto has like some of the worst wage to price or income to price ratios in the world, right? Based on the UBS bubble index that came out recently. So, I mean, people will live, like Toronto's a great city. A lot of people want to live here, but if they can't afford to, they're not going to. Pretty simple, right? Like I'm not going to live here to go bankrupt.
Right.
Yeah. Some people are apparently, but I personally wouldn't. And I think we're learning that a lot fewer people are willing to do that, and I think a recession is going to exacerbate that.
Yeah, I think that kind of splits it basically splits people into two different categories. One, if you look at millennials that do end up staying here, they most likely have help from a family, right? The average gifted down payment is something astronomical, like $160,000 or $180,000. Those people that have that, the bank of mom and dad, they will probably end up staying here and buying a condo, then a townhouse, then maybe 15, 20 years, maybe a detached in Forest Hill or something like that. The rest of the people, I think, are, if you look at some of the information that's out there, even the U-Haul index, which is a great indicator of where people are going, right? There's a ton of StatsCan data on interprovincial migration. We see that there's a mass exodus of young people. I mean, Dan and I both have, I'm 33. I've had tons of friends in the last year, 1 to 3 years, that have moved to Alberta and to the East Coast. Literally have moved there, bought a house, and have kind of settled down. And the rest of our friends here that are still renting are kind of like, do I go there or what? So I think it really it's situational, but I mean, a lot of people don't have parents that can dish out $200,000. So,
and that's the point. Many families do not have that $200,000 to give to their kids, to gift, to help them out. And if they do, they might not even say, you have to buy here in Toronto or in Vancouver. I can't help you here. I can help you somewhere where it's more affordable, where I know that you are going to thrive and you're going to grow, and you as a family, whoever you are going to be able to succeed.
Yeah, it's definitely, like, we felt the strain just because it is a very tight space for the 6 of us to be living there. Yeah. So it's like, what are our options? Do we move further away where we can have more affordable living? Or do we just stay in this condo a little bit longer and continually feel that strain? Yeah. Right?
Are we going to continue to see this appreciate? It was a little iffy. Yeah. I remember my first home we bought for $247,000. We sold it 8 years later for $830,000, right? But we thought when it reached about $650 or so, that was the top. We were outside with neighbors having driveway drinks, and we're like, can you believe these houses? We bought them for like under $3, and now they're $650. This has to be the top. The same house that I sold to buy the house that I'm currently in, I wish I had kept. Hindsight 2020, I wish I had kept it. Because the same house during the pandemic sold for $1.5 to $1.6 million. Like, it went up $1 million more dollars. It was insane, right? So yeah, now that prices are starting to normalize and balance, I do think, like, when things kind of get to that point, if things that go down come back up, it'll do this again. Will it be insane like it was during the pandemic? No, I don't think so. We'll see more of a normal annual increase, but I still think there's appreciation. Absolutely.
So what is that like, trying to save up for a down payment to come up with that 5-10%, $50,000 to $70,000?
It's very challenging.
Yeah.
It's challenging for sure, especially with the market right now, and prices gone up for pretty much everything. And yeah, it's tough. So we have to really budget ourselves practically in such a way that we could plan for it. What other options are there out there? So there is a big surge of like people moving out to Calgary because of the affordability, right? Yeah. And even I have a mutual friend with my partner who actually also made the move out to Calgary as well. Okay. And they're starting their family out there. And changing their whole lifestyle and everything.
Well, and that's the thing, is we keep hearing and like getting calls and emails from people, right? Who are doing that exact thing. And that's why we're here, because it's just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, why is this going on? And when in talking to others here, I don't think this would have started to, like, the problem of affordability might not have come to fruition if COVID didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because then it kind of started changing everyone's perspective
and dynamic of
how they were living in their space.
Exactly.
And interacting with it. But then also everyone kind of had to stay in that space too. Everyone's kind of like there instead of like traveling and doing different stuff, right? So it's a different dynamic. And so, I mean, have you guys talked about, like, let's say in 2 years, marriage, school's done, this done, that's done, and you're looking at your family future.
Yeah.
Is it something that you guys would talk about?
Oh, most definitely.
Okay.
We've had that conversation. But it's just all these other factors coming in, like her parents and obviously like my parents. But it's something we'd have to discuss more, and especially when we're closer to that point where we want to make that final move and make that final decision.
Yeah. So in part 2 of our video series, we are going to talk to homeowners, we're going to talk to renters who are all trying to figure this out, who are frustrated, and basically, what are they going to do about it? So head on over there and let's continue the conversation.